Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Difficult being the person presenting between us and the coffee break, but I will try to keep your attention and keep it short and within the time limit. I would like to talk to you a little bit today about the Mediterranean component of the EU Water Initiative, which, as probably you know already, was launched back in 2003 and has been led ever since by the government of Greece, the Ministry of Environment, Energy and Climate Change, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And given this opportunity to be among friends and colleagues here, also to restate the commitment of the government of Greece to continue supporting the Mediterranean component in the years to come and continue the work that has been already done. Before talking about the transboundary case of the Drin River, I would like to take you on a very brief tour on some of the activities that have been conducted ever since the launching of the MED component. So there have been activities at national level, completed and ongoing, at transboundary level, and also at regional level. A few highlights, just to give you a glimpse and an idea of what has been done so far. As you will see for the national, for example, activities, there have been ongoing policy dialogue processes in countries. The most important ones in Lebanon, in Egypt. In Lebanon, launched back in 2005, dealing with IWRM and specifically revisiting the strategy, the 10-year strategy that the Ministry of Energy and Water had in place, and was slightly out of date, so there was a need to identify the new priorities. Based on that was completed. Information was also fed into the national water sector strategy that was put together by the ministry, and activities continued also with the conduct of an assessment regarding private sector participation on water infrastructure in Lebanon. This input was not prepared in isolation, though that was all fed into the national water sector strategy of Lebanon and promoting activities in order to enhance private sector participation, for example. In Egypt, on the other hand, going to North Africa, we started working on a financing strategy for the water supply and sanitation sector in Greater Cairo, together with the OECD. That was completed. There was the realization of a very big financing gap of approximately 20 billion euros in the period 2006-2026. And among the different alternatives in order to fix this gap was to also look into the option of private sector participation. And that was actually how we started a long-standing cooperation with the OECD on the theme. Other policy dialogues have been ongoing, one of which is in Palestine with regards to the theme of governance. And there has been support provided to the water governance reform program that has been implemented by the Palestinian Water Authority since 2009. In Tunisia, we have launched also a PSP-related activity, which is going to feed into the under-preparation national water strategy, the Eau 2050 for the country. While in Libya, we held the first ever, actually, IWRM workshop, discussing priorities and needs. And in Syria, training of government officials of the then newly established Directorate for IWRM in the Ministry of Education on IWRM again. On transboundary level, we have worked extensively on building capacity building on a range of issues, including institutional setting, joint monitoring, relations with the Water Framework Directive, public participation, and, of course, stakeholder involvement. Of course, there has been also work specifically targeting areas and lakes and rivers. We're going to talk a bit more extensively in the slides to come about the Drin River Basin. In the Sava, just to mention that we have provided support as MEDUE towards stakeholder participation, while also another activity is ongoing on the Buna-Bojana River, which is a transboundary river between Albania and Montenegro, regarding linking together IWRM and ISSRM, ISSRM being Integrated Coastal Zone Management. And in Jordan, there has been an exploration of interests at country level for the potential joint management of the lower part of the river. Notwithstanding, regional activities have been ongoing. Support has been provided to the Euro-Mediterranean Water Directors Forum within the framework of the Euromed partnership since 2006. And after the successor of the Euromed partnership through the Union for the Mediterranean, support continued to be provided to the Water Expert Group. And the Med Secretariat has assisted substantially, technically and administratively, towards the elaboration of the draft strategy for water in the Mediterranean, which comprises basically a framework document on governance around the Mediterranean. It hasn't been approved yet, as many of you in this room know. However, we need to stress that it is a document that has been agreed by the 43 states of the Union for the Mediterranean at 99.9% of its context. So, soon to come, an agreement and an approval and an adoption of that. So, why talk about Southeastern Europe in this presentation? Primarily because 90% of the area falls within shared basins. Very few hints regarding the background for Southeastern Europe. As we all know, it has not been an area characterized by stability and peace. Not so long ago, countries were engaged in armed conflict. So political stability is something that doesn't necessarily characterize the region, or hasn't. Most of the countries, they are in the process of carrying out economic reform processes for more open and market-based economies, while the majority of the countries, although not EU member states, have voluntarily agreed to comply with the requirements and the provisions of primarily the Water Framework Directive, and also follow the line of provisions of the Groundwater Directive and the more recently approved EU Marine Protocol, which means that we have a common denominator in order to discuss water within. And of course, economic growth, as we all know, and we have experienced in our work, is dictating different choices regarding water and other natural resources. I'm not going to stay with this slide a lot. I think we can all agree, and based on what we have already conducted, that one of the key challenges, if not the key challenge, is the issue of governance, water governance. Mismanagement, institutional setting, legislative framework, capacity building, and ensuring that there is participation of the different stakeholders continue to remain key challenges in most areas, not excluding, of course, Southeastern Europe. So, about the Drin River Basin, it is a focus area for the Med component of the EU Water Initiative. Let me give you a little bit of a visual of where exactly it is and what it encompasses. So this is the extended Drin River Basin, including the international Prespa Lake and the international Lake Ohrid and the Lake Skodra. So you can see it is a very complex basin where there is interconnection of surface, lakes and rivers, and groundwater resources. And we should also mention here that the particularity is also for the groundwater that it's mostly karstic aquifers that are within, which make the monitoring and the exact calculation actually of what water is available quite challenging. And not excluding that within all this setting of having surface and groundwater, you also have a very wide range of inland, coastal, and man-made ecosystems that require attention in order to be preserved and maintained. At the same time, the practice has been for unilateral management of the different sections of the extended Drin River Basin. Some legally binding agreements exist, however, separately for each of the 3 international lakes, and usually the national and the subnational and sub-basin plans fail without taking into account the extended water balance of the basin, which it hasn't been calculated, we should mention. So what have we been doing? There is a set of different challenges and questions that we have been confronting. How to identify and reach consensus among the countries. What I failed to mention is that the extended Drin River Basin is shared among 5 riparians: Greece, Albania, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, Montenegro, and Kosovo under the UN Security Council Resolution 1244. So you can imagine that also the linkages and the relations among the different countries are not exactly harmonious. So how to identify and reach a consensus? How to establish, if we want to move further, a shared vision for the basin? And how to establish cooperation that is actually functional and effective? And how to initiate, perhaps, a process towards the development of a river basin management plan? This has been possible through a partnership. This partnership owes its birth to a political process, to the Athens-Petersburg process, which has been led since 2003 by the government of Germany and Greece and the World Bank with the financial support of the GEF. However, this would not have gone through without the consolidated leadership by the UNECE. And as you can see, within the framework for this partnership, the UNECE 1992 Convention figures prominently and defines the process and the context of the process. At the same time, and as mentioned before, because the countries voluntarily abide by it, also the Water Framework Directive of the EU has been facilitating, dictating, characterizing the process of this partnership. The GEF, IW Learn for international waters, and of course, the key facilitating role of the MED component of the EU Water Initiative, and also the support of the GEF MED partnership. As you can see, there is a range of financial support that has been provided to this partnership, and the driving force has been with the UNECE, with technical support provided by GWP MED, as also the secretariat of the MED component of the EU Water Initiative. So what is this process? It has been a very rich consultation process. Among the water resources ministries, the competent water resources ministries in the 5 riparians, and existing also and building on the work of joint commissions and committees at a sub-basin level. And the objective has been, of course, to develop and implement a strategic shared vision among the national authorities and the stakeholders for the sustainable management of the Drin River Basin. It has been a long process. It started back in 2006. Here in blue, you can see a series of capacity-building workshops financed primarily by the GEF and have taken place on a time span between 2006 and 2009, followed by the initiation, the formal initiation of the Drin Dialogue towards the end of 2009, on the 1st of December, to be precise, followed by national and regional consultation meetings, supported primarily through the Swedish EPA, leading in 2011 in the Drin Ministerial Declaration, followed by a few more meetings, and leading finally to a memorandum of understanding that was signed on the 25th of November in 2011 by the respective ministers of environment of the 5 riparians. Why is it important? It gives a political impetus in order to continue and promote the partnership and lead it towards implementation. So the key milestones, let's say, in all this long and dedicated process has been, of course, the ministerial declaration and the memorandum of understanding among the 5 riparians. This memorandum of understanding established a Drin core group that has been active and functioning. So what is happening regarding the next steps? There is, as you can see, a distinction between among short-term, medium-term, and long-term activities. So in the short term, until 2013, the main goal is to strengthen and enhance the functions of the Drin core group. And this is also to build further the knowledge basis and the capacity. In the medium term, up to 2015, the goal is actually multifaceted. So we intend to advance the decision support tools that are given for this partnership, to establish a Drin Basin monitoring and information sharing system, and, more importantly, to establish a Basin Commission, which is going to take the whole process further in the years to come after 2016 towards developing and putting together the Drin Basin Management Plan, and, of course, implementing it. So about the immediate next steps. In May this year, in 2012, there was the establishment of 3 working groups, one on the Water Framework Directive, one on monitoring and information exchange, and one on biodiversity and ecosystems. And these have been up and running. The preparation of the action plan has been ongoing. We have a first draft at the moment on how to implement, basically, the shared vision. And this is going to be ready by the end of this year, by the end of 2012. And one of the immediate next steps is to formalize the agreement for the sustainable management of the Drin Basin and the implementation, of course, of the action plan. And with that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention.